What's going on, everybody? Almost Counts Collectibles here, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie figures from the 1995 release. Now, unlike some of the other toys in the movie edition toy line, such as the Ninja Megazord, the Falcon Zord, the smaller version of both of those that didn't really transform, and so on and so forth, these weren't simply re-released, redecoed, repainted figures that we had already seen before in previous seasons. The Ninja Megazord and Falcon Zord and all those were the exact same toys from the Season 3 earlier release for the show release, and they simply repackaged them with movie edition packaging and resold them. But these figures were actually new figures that they released for this toy line. Now, these are most similar to the Automorphin 5-inch line. They look very much like them, with the exception that they don't actually automorph, but we'll do a comparison of those real quick. Now, these are most similar to the Season 3 Metallic Armor Automorphin Rangers, and we'll go ahead and do a quick comparison. I'll go ahead and pull my Blue Ranger Billy over here so we can take a look at them. Now, to the left we have the Automorphin Blue Ranger from the Season 3 Metallic Armor release, and over here to the right we have our movie edition Blue Ranger. Now, you can see that they are very similar, even the paint. They both have the wolf chest emblem and all their Ninjetti chest emblems and everything, so they are very similar. But we do not get the automorphin function with the new movie edition Rangers, and because of that we actually get a little more articulation. So the heads actually turn on the movie edition Rangers. We get some head articulation. They will actually spin all the way around 360 if you choose to do that. But the old Automorphin Rangers actually did not feature any kind of head movement whatsoever. So we got a new point of articulation, and they took away the automorph. The bodies are a lot more slim and slender, and in my opinion, I think they look better. They don't have this little bit bigger, boxier look, you know, that the Automorphin Rangers had. So overall, I think the figures, the appearance really helped out, making them a little more slim and taking away that automorphin function. Now, as far as the rest of the figure goes, the articulation and construction of the arms and the legs, all of that is pretty much identical. There is no new articulation anywhere else, which is kind of disappointing. Since they, were making a kind of a new figure anyway, I would have liked to have seen some more articulation in the legs, especially in the hips, more like the Cycle Edition Rangers, that came with the Dino bikes and the Thunder bikes and the Shark Cycles. Those Rangers had a lot more articulation in the legs and everything, and if they could have gone a little more that route with these, I think they would have been a lot better. But I do like them. I think they look better, and overall I'm pretty pleased with them. I think they did a decent job on these Rangers as far as the looks, and kind of giving us something new, although it is very similar to a lot of the 5-inch line that we had already received. So we'll go ahead and set our Automorphin Ranger aside. Now, you will notice with these Rangers, even though they are movie edition Rangers, they don't actually look like the costumes worn in Power Rangers the movie. They look very much like the show version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. They, gave them metallic paint and this, that, and the other, but the helmets, the costumes, everything still looks very much like the show edition Rangers. If you want to get your hands on an accurate show depiction Ranger for the movie, you need to go out and get your hands on the triangular box released Power Ranger the movie figures from the Legacy line. They did a great job on these Rangers. They actually look like their show counterpart that appeared on screen in the movie. The costumes look very good. Articulation is very good. They actually have the hip articulation. And overall, they're just a great looking movie figure. So those Rangers actually look like the movie Power Rangers. So if you want the show accurate ones for the movie ones that made their appearance, you need to go get the triangular box release Legacy line. All right, so there's the Rangers right here in front of us. Here in a minute, we will take a look at some of the packaging. But first, I want to talk about the releases real quick. So the first release, at least known to me, of the Power Rangers the movie figures was in 1995 with the actual movie release. And once again, we'll take a look at the box here in just a second for that specific release. However, there was a second release of these figures that a lot of people kind of forget about. these figures were actually released with Power Rangers in space. And we will go ahead and take a look at that release and the packaging. So right here, we have the Power Rangers in Space Astro Pink Power Ranger with bonus figure. And those bonus figures that came with these particular Rangers were a re-release of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie figures. Now, I just so happen to have a Pink Ranger with Mighty Morphin Pink. However, they weren't all color coordinated. Not all blue TJ in Space Rangers came with a blue Mighty Morphin, Billy Ranger. It was random. I have seen Pink Ranger with White Ranger Mighty Morphin. I have seen Pink Ranger with Red Ranger Mighty Morphin, and so on and so forth. Now, I'm not 100% sure if every single In-Space Ranger was released with a version of every single Mighty Morphin Power Ranger, the movie figure. I would like to look more into it and possibly put that collection together. It'll be one of the more difficult ones because of all the different variations, but I think it would be very neat to have every In-Space Ranger with every single different Mighty Morphin Ranger. I think that would be really cool, but I'm not even sure if they did that. I don't know if it was entirely random packaging or if, they actually released a certain number of every single iteration that they could, combine. I'm not 100% on that one, but this was the only other release of these figures that I know of. Now that we've talked about that, I want to actually pose a question to all of my Power Ranger fans out there. Now, behind the in-space release packaging here of Mighty Morphin, I have another set of Power Rangers, the movie figures. And at first glance, these look identical. They look just like the other set of movie edition Rangers that I have over here to the left. But these Rangers are actually entirely different figures. I just recently noticed this when I was going through my figures and trying to figure out which ones I wanted to display, and I was kind of looking at their condition, which ones looked the best, and I started noticing that some of my Rangers were very much different, and I'm not talking about just a few cosmetic differences. First, I noticed the helmets were different, and then the chest emblems, and so on and so forth, and I'm going to go ahead and show you exactly what I'm talking about. So we'll take a Black Ranger from my second set over here, and we will do a comparison with Black Ranger from my first set. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about with these differences. So these Rangers right here to my left are from the 95 release. They were opened from damaged packaging, so I saw the packaging they came out of, and I know for a fact where they came from. Now, the in-space 2-pack Rangers that were released with them are the exact same Rangers that were released in the 95 edition release, and I have confirmed that. So I'm going to show you the differences on how these over here, my kind of mystery origin team of movie edition Rangers, differ from both the 95 release and the in-space 2-pack releases. Now, I'm going to use black for the main reason that not only does my secondary Black Ranger have all of the other differences that I'm about to talk about, but the paint is most noticeable on Black Ranger. Now, the Ranger that came out of the 95 packaging right here to my left, you can tell that the black paint is more of a kind of, there's kind of a granite mixture with the black. It's got some hints of gray. It's more like a, a black chromish color. Whereas the other Black Ranger I have right here is more of a true gloss black. It doesn't really have those hints of gray. So the paint right off the bat is noticeable. So let's talk about the helmets. Now, the helmets are actually very different on both of these figures when you look at them. The tusks of the Mastodon are much larger on my secondary Ranger over here. The eyes are actually in a slightly different spot. They're slightly shaped differently. The mouthpieces are molded significantly differently. That you can tell the difference when you actually compare and look at it. So not only that, the chest emblems on all of the Rangers are also different. On the 95 and the In Space release, the sticker actually takes up the entire circle. It is more of a gold color, and the frogs, or whatever, Ninjetti one that it happens to be for whatever ranger you're looking at, the animal is actually depicted slightly larger. I mean, the sticker is slightly larger. Whereas on the secondary ranger, the gold is a little more bland. It's not as gold. The stickers are always smaller, and the, therefore the animal itself is a little bit smaller. So then you have that difference. Let's go ahead and flip it around to the back. If that wasn't enough to convince you that these are actually two entirely different constructed Rangers, the bolt patterns and the assembly of these Rangers is completely different. You will see on the 95 and the In Space releases that you get one bolt in the back. So you've got your one screw hole there. There is one actually in the belt, and then there's one in the buttocks down here. Whereas on my secondary team over here of Movie Rangers, I have two bolts in the back plate, no bolts in the belt, and then your buttock screw. And the belt molds even appear to be slightly smaller on this secondary team over here. Now, both of them say 95 Bandai, made in China, but I cannot figure out what release or where this secondary team originated from, and why it is constructed differently. Everything is slightly different on it. It was clearly a different figure and a different release, but it is not from the In Space 2-packs, and it is not from the original 95 release. So there's something that I'm missing somewhere. I don't know. I've looked it up, but I can't find it. I don't know if there was a recall or a safety issue on the original issued figures and they had to completely change them. But then again, if that was the case, why years later would the In Space 2-packs be of the original 95 release if there was an issue there? So I'm not sure what's going on with that. At first, I thought that these could possibly just be bootleg figures, but they're not. The quality on these figures is outstanding, and you just don't get that kind of quality on bootleg figures. Not only that, I have multiples of these versions of Rangers. I have at least 3 Red Rangers of the actual secondary team over here with that specific bolt pattern and the differences in the helmets and the chest pieces and all of that. So I'm convinced that this was a legitimate different release at some point in time, and they changed the figure a little bit. Even though it looks almost identical, it's clearly a different set of figures. So if anybody out there knows what release or what packaging option that I'm missing, or whatever the case may be for that secondary set and where they possibly came from, I would be very interested to know. Now, if you're wondering how I know that these are the exact same as the In Space 2-packs, if you actually look, I'll bring you guys over here real quick, and I can take a flashlight and look down in there, but I can actually see the bolt hole, the screw hole in the belt of the all of the Rangers I have that come in these 2-packs. So I know that they're the same construction, the same bolt pattern. Even the chest emblems are the larger chest emblems. And the helmets look similar to the 95 release. So these are definitely an exact replica of the 95 release. So I have no idea where this other set I have, that I have multiples of, is coming from with that different bolt pattern, slightly different helmets, chest pieces. One more comparison real quick. I will show you the White Rangers, just to show you that this is universal, the differences. So with the White Ranger here, the gold coloring is obviously different on the secondary team, and I have 3 of these White Rangers as well, all with the same color. The gold is much lighter. The belt is actually skinnier. It's a little bit smaller. The helmets are different. You will notice that the helmet lines and everything are a lot more sharp and clean on the secondary figure, and they're slightly shaped differently on the 95 release. They are not the same helmets. But then again, if that wasn't enough proof, the entire bolt patterns on the back are different. Our 95 has the bolt in the belt as well as the one up top, and over here nothing in the belt, and we have 2 up top underneath the actual shield. So they are clearly different figures. I'm just very curious as to where they came from. So if any of my Power Ranger fans out there can help me out with that one, it's really puzzling me. I can't figure it out. Those are the only 2 official releases I know. Now, I will show you a bootleg release. I believe I showed this in my bootleg collection video. But this is a bootleg movie edition White Ranger. And just to, drive home the fact that, the quality on these is not great, you can kind of tell right away if it's a bootleg figure. I mean, we've got sloppy white paint on the helmet. I don't know if you guys can see that. One thing I really like about this bootleg figure though, is the belt. He actually has a White Ranger looking belt, and I even like the difference in the holster, the way the holster is cut out. So I really like that about this bootleg figure. I thought that was neat. But once again, miscolored weapons, the paint quality, things are smeared. It's kind of hard to see, but you can tell when it's a bootleg figure, and those other ones are clearly not. All right, real quick, I'll show you the packaging for these Rangers, but we will look at the sealed in package, the whole set, and do a little bit better in-depth look of that later. We'll go ahead and look at white and red here. So these are the figures in their packaging. They each featured a chrome dino coin of that particular Ranger. So we get Tyrannosaurus. Over here we have White Tiger. Tommy comes with Saba, and all the other Rangers, no power weapons, but they do all get a blaster. And then in the back you have the movie emblem. Up above that it says, White Ranger, Red Ranger, whatever the case may be, in their color. It says movie edition over here, behind the banner. We've got Power Rangers, the movie emblem up there with some reflective chrome on Power Rangers. Very cool. I mean, the packaging was very good looking. They did a good job with the repackaging. On the back here, we'll take a look real quick. So right here, it shows you how to use the coin with the morpher that most people probably already had. We've got the story up here on the top. Right here, it shows the movie edition Rangers, and then we get some villains down here at the bottom. So that was the packaging for the actual Rangers. So let me go, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I just wanted to show you guys real quick, and I wanted to pose that question. I'm really curious if you guys can tell me where this other set of Rangers came from. But let me know what you guys thought of the movie edition Rangers, and maybe even the other toys that appeared in that line, even the re-releases. And other than that, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and until next time, I'll see you next video.